I remember laughing at you and finding you really funny, and then I met you and thought, nah, he's an idiot. Hello and welcome to the next instalment of Moving the Spotlight. Today's guest has been one of my best friends for many years, so he's going to give me so much jip doing this interview, I can tell it. So I'm going to look down here. I'm going to introduce my good friend, Simon Hill.
Hello,
You
this
alright,
is fun.
mate? How you doing?
Roles reversed.
Yeah, I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to go
This
through
is.
this and
Have you
give
done
you.
your research?
I don't need to do my research. I know who you are. I know you're an idiot. I know you're a fool. So it doesn't matter. I know stories about you that I can't tell. So I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
I'm not
We
worried
should.
about any of this, to be fair. I'm worried about you and what you're gonna say.
I will try my hardest to keep it PG because we've both got stories that shouldn't be repeated. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best to play up to Neil the interviewer today.
All right. Okay. Right. So I'll give you. We'll do some funny questions. You can say what you want. I'm not scared. I've got worse stories on you than you have of me, so I don't mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Eat it. Right. So I was thinking about this. I think I know how you know us or Blue Nation, but what's your first recollection of meeting me or knowing Blue Nation?
So my first recollection of meeting you was when I was working at BRMB, which is now Free Radio,
Yeah,
and me and your lovely better half, Mimi
yeah,
Detroit, we've been friends, I think, 4 or 5 years before I met you,
yeah.
and she was in the studio as Gun Dogs. I
Oh,
used to
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
Gun Dogs, man. And we had them kind of performing some tracks in between, takes and guests and stuff, and it was so much fun. And we got them to record a song about me, funnily enough. But you turned up at the studio,
Yeah.
and I remember asking Maria, I was like, "Who's that?"
What do you
And
mean?
she's like,
Who's
"Oh,
that?
that's the new fella." And I was like, "Really?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Is he all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's fine."
yeah, yeah. He's fine. I remember that as well. Did you have some weird guests on as well? Did you
We
have like?
did. Oh
Do you have a?
God.
I want to say an adult star. Is that the right
We
way to put it?
yeah. I think that's a softer way of putting it. Yeah, we had a dominatrix, I think,
Yeah.
of some form, and we also had like the Welsh gun champion something in the Olympics or something like
It
that,
was
and I
something
can't
weird,
remember.
wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember me and Jamie Lee, who was another one of the co-hosts, we were cracking eggs over each other's faces.
Yeah. I remember
Uh,
thinking this guy's an idiot, and because it was
and he's
late
getting
night, wasn't
paid
it?
to do it to be on radio.
I
So
I don't think I've ever told you this, right? I'm going to tell you now.
um,
So before moving to Detroit, I used to go out with a girl, and she lived quite far away from me, and I used to. It was like a 2 hour drive, right? And I used to leave. I think it was late on a Sunday night. Did you do a show on a Sunday night?
yep, Saturday, Sunday.
Right, Saturday and Sunday night. If I was coming back to Birmingham, right, I used to listen to you on the radio as I was driving. How weird is that?
No
How
way.
weird is that? And it literally
In
only came to me the other day,
in
and
the
it was,
many years we've known each other, I know why you've never told me that.
oh yeah, because didn't you
Because of the
phone?
ego.
Didn't you used to phone your nan? And or
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I remembered it. And literally the other day I was like, oh my god, that's Psy. I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was it.
how
And
mad's that, mate?
oh man,
That's
that's
years
got to
ago.
be like 10 years.
It's about 15. Well, I've been with Mimi Detroit 12 years.
Yeah, it's got to be just
So
yeah. I'd say
it's good 15 years ago, that is. How mad's
wow.
that? I
It's
thought
crazy.
about it while doing my research, as you told me to do on you. And I remember laughing at you and finding you really funny. And then I met you and thought, nah, he's an idiot. And yeah, how weird's that? How bad's that for the universe, man? So
That
that's
is
how I first kind of introduced you. And then, yeah, I remember that BR&B
yeah, yeah.
interview.
I remember that. And then I think it was a couple of years went by before
Yeah, yeah.
I got invited by Mimi Detroit to one of your gigs. I don't know if it was the Actress or Academy that was the first one.
It's going to be one of them, innit?
Yeah, it was one of those, and I remember I came and met up with her at the front outside, and I just can't remember which one it was, and I just remember watching watching you, and
Thinking, wow, this guy's great.
well, I was just going to say it's going to kill me to say this, but I was blown away.
Oh my god!
I was. I
No, you're always very nice. To be fair, mate, you're always. Yeah, I think we both are to each other. We take the mick out of each other constantly, and literally the other night when you were sending me messages from your agent, which I was to do this interview, and I was like, "You idiot," and I can't repeat what I said back because it is ridiculously not suitable for this. But no, we're good with each other though on like the professional.
we're supportive,
side of
aren't we?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professional standpoint, we're always really supportive.
I mean,
And I think that
there's
was a
always a
thing
twinge
from...
of I'm going to take the mick out of you at any given moment, and you have.
Oh
me,
yeah,
but-
absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that first gig because it was. I think it was you played the majority of the first album
Yeah, it would have been.
in
Yeah.
its entirety, and yeah, I remember coming away. We started talking quite regular then. I remember you
Yeah.
sent me a copy of that album because I was at Kerrang at the time. No, I wasn't. I was at Free Radio.
Free radio. Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like, okay, yeah, all right, he's got a decent voice.
So the basis of our relationship is me trying to get radio play from you.
Yeah, yeah, that's where it all began.
All right, yeah,
So,
cool. Well, at least I've stayed with you, mate. I've not been completely shallow and just dropped you.
No, mate, you haven't. And to be quite honest, a lot of people won't know this, and they will never know the ins and outs. But you've been probably the strongest, or one of the strongest people around.
Mate. That's very nice of you to say.
You know, we've been through a lot, mate.
Yeah. Oh my god, mate. Yeah. We'll come on to the wedding story. Don't worry. Yeah, that story. Right. So, give the people watching, listening, who you are, what you do. Kind of. I'm going to go through like your plotted history because you've got a really interesting kind of career that you've gone through. But kind of tell us who you are and what you do, mate. What's your main thing?
So yeah, my name's Simon Hill, and I have been a presenter since I can remember, since the age of 19. And I won't give you my age now. A little bit younger than Neil.
I got really nervous then that you were going to give your age away, give mine away.
But yeah, so it was one of those things where it's really weird how I got into it as well. If I can tell that story.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go for it.
So I used to listen to Kerrang Radio religiously, and I used to listen to a show called Tim Shaw's Asylum, which was 10 o'clock every night until 1 a.m. every morning. It was very adult orientated. Tim was touted as the English Howard Stern, and I used to listen. I used to had to be by my hi-fi. Do you remember hi-fis?
Flipping heck. God, yeah.
Used to have the spin dial.
Mate,
and the
you're giving
volume.
away our age now. Don't know.
Oh, no,
no.
yeah,
MP3 players.
Yeah.
Sony Discman.
Oh gosh, I had one of those, and that lasted like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to have to be by my radio for 10 p.m. every night, listening to this show. And Tim would have these wacky guests on, as you've already mentioned there. Like, we would have guests, and what Tim would do that was quite good is he would tell a visual story on radio, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So whatever he had in, whoever he had in, he wouldn't just get them to talk about what they were there for. He would get them to perform something that they were there for, which was incredible. And he used to shout out on the radio, "Look, if you want to come in and join in the fun, see all the show unfold, text the show and then you can come in." I was like, yeah, wicked. So I used to do that, and I used to be this little kid fanboy in the corner. Every Monday I used to go.
No,
And
right. I didn't know this.
Yeah. This is how I got into it. It's so weird. And I used to just watch it all unfold. Now, for anybody watching, you'd think, well, what's fun about watching somebody just throw a few faders around and speak into a microphone? Well, the thing with Tim Shaw's Asylum, as you well know, when you came into Free Radio, it's like it could have its own film crew, couldn't it?
Oh, it was mad. It was rammed as well for a tiny little studio. There was loads of people in there. And I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? It's like, but just like there was someone with a snake in one corner, I think, one week when I was there, and then there was someone else who was like breathing fire, and I'm like, is this radio? Why the hell is there a person with a massive snake there? I thought, do you know what I mean? It was kind of like that was my way of looking at it, going, this is weird.
And the hardest part of that was having to produce it, as well as be a co-presenter on it. But to kind of go back to how it all kind of began, I remember I didn't go over the Christmas period. I think I was like working at Music Zone or HMV or something, one of those kind of stores. And the producer of the show at the time, she called me in January and she was like, "We need a new runner. We know that you know the show and you love the show. Do you want to come and do it?" And I was like, "Oh my God, like I'm going to get to go and actually be a part of this show that I fanboy over."
Yeah, yeah.
I remember winning a prize on there as well the once, and Lucy called me, the producer, or Juicy Lucy, as she was known on air.
Yeah.
She called me and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm speaking to you."
No way.
Yeah. And then, you know, only months later, she was teaching me how radio works, and I would be nothing without Lucy and Tim. Tim at first didn't like me.
Not many people do, mate. Don't worry.
No, it's a hard it's a hard thing to ask for my personality. But yeah, so it was one of those then where I got in and worked my absolute ass off.
That's crazy.
And I was there every day, 12 hours, 13 hours a day, money out of my own pocket at first for transport because I didn't live in Birmingham at the time. So yeah, it was a learning curve, and I remember recently a story came out where the Express and Star had covered my career, a local newspaper here. Tim had called me because he saw the article, and we had this conversation that, you know, if Tim wasn't as hard on me as he was, I don't think I'd still be doing what I'm doing, because he taught me everything. And it's a hard career to grasp at first because you don't know what you're getting into. It's not as simple as speaking into a microphone. There's so much planning, organisation, construction that goes into it. You know, for a 3-hour radio show, you'll be planning the night before.
Yeah.
And the day after, like, you know, it's so intense.
And this is why we want to do this, mate. Is to kind of show, because we started off obviously the moving spotlight on the NHS and care sector, just so people could see kind of behind the curtain of what's going on. And then the lads and I thought, well, we need to look at people who are in the industry or part of the industry and stuff that happens behind the scenes. Because obviously, when people see a TV presenter, they think, oh, they just read an autocue and just do that. Yeah. Now, or a radio presenter, they think, oh, they just get on radio and talk nonsense for 3 hours. But I don't think people understand that level of commitment you go through. So I'm going to push you forward, because I know you've done loads of radio stuff, but I want to hear about like the TV stuff as well, because you've interviewed like a load of kind of big people and stuff like that. So how do you go about, right? Give me a complete example of where you've interviewed like a big star and what you've done before it. So kind of forget the interview, because the interview's the interview, right?
Yeah.
And then what you do after it, or even up to, mate, how did you get it? How did you get that opportunity? So talk me through that, bud.
I guess. So I'll use one example. I was working very heavy in the gaming industry, but I was kind of interviewing big stars, sports stars at the same time. Yeah. So one that I got was Kyrie Irving, who's 5-time NBA All-Star, one of the biggest NBA players of the modern era. And I got a call from 2K, who obviously make the NBA 2K games, and they said, look, we've got an opportunity coming because the Celtics and the Sixers are coming to the UK to play a game at London O2. We would like you to do a live broadcast on NBA TV of you interviewing Kyrie Irving. Would you be up for it? I was like, man. First of all, I had watched Kyrie from his rookie days, because I am an NBA fan. So my automatic response was yes. Now, the hoops we had to climb through with NBA, question-wise and things like that. So straight away, my first thing to do was, okay, I already know the player, but how do I get to know the player?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. The research starts. So a lot of people and a lot of interviewers who are starting out think Wikipedia is the answer to everything. It's not. Do not touch that platform. It's great for your references when you're looking at, films or whatever. But yeah, just, go for the real directive stuff, like so through the NBA, through Kyrie's socials,
Yeah.
and things like that. Listen to past interviews like that he's done on ESPN, or so that's what I did. And I remember that I used to buy the NBA League Pass every year, but I didn't this year for whatever reason, 'cause it's like $200. But I didn't that year. But I did buy the two games he had played in between the time that I knew I was going to interview him
Yeah.
and get in there. So there was more content for me to talk about that he had, played these games against, I don't know, it was like the Knicks or something. And yeah, I would sit down, I would gather all my notes, I would research fun facts. We had to submit interviews to the NBA.
So you have to submit the questions that you're going to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
That's not in all cases, but with this one, especially
Yeah.
being so high profile, NBA are very protective of their brand players.
Yeah, of course.
Naturally, they're one of the biggest organisations in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to submit the questions. They came back, and we had to remove two, change one, or something like that.
Wow. So they're like that heavily involved on that one in
Yeah,
guiding your interview, because your interview style and what you do, and like me, like with this, I just said to you, mate, let's just have a conversation. With everyone we're talking to, I said, I just want a conversation. So you can't, in that instance, you can't just say, oh, I'm just going to see what comes to mind and ask him. You have to kind of plan it out methodically to see where you're going to go.
yeah,
Does
exactly
that make the interview a bit stilted in some cases? Do you have to have a good guest to bounce off? Have you ever had that kind of stuff? Because that was a great interview. I remember I saw it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, that interview taught me so much. It was very difficult. Kyrie was very tired. He got off the plane, went to training, then came to do media. We had to do this live stuff, and I won't go into the interview itself, but I remember. So had all this beautiful camera set up. NBA really went to town, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, okay, this is the biggest thing I've done at that point. Um, and Kyrie walks through the door. We shake hands, we introduce. We're getting mic'd up, and sit down. Counters coming up. Now, what was funny is that we didn't have in-ear monitors to tell us that the countdown to come out of the interview.
Yeah.
So the director had his laptop, which was kind of to the right of me, to count down for 12 minutes. Well, I didn't look, so we made the other show late. But I remember he came in, and as soon as I introduced him, hi, we're joined by five-time NBA All-Star Kyrie Irving. And I look over to him, and he goes, still-faced. I'm more than just an NBA All-Star. I'm a winner in this league. Right, and you can see out of my peripherals, you've got international press, America, Germany, Spain, all just went, like this. But I kept my cool. In my head, I'm freaking out.
Yeah,
but I kept my cool, and I was like, "Don't worry, we're going to get to that in a moment. We're going to get through all your accolades," and kind of laughed it off, and then got into it a little bit. So he loosened up after a bit, and it was fun. But yeah, the whole planning and to wind down after an interview as well. I think that's the hardest part for me. Because you're on such a high.
Yeah, 100%. I get that with gigs as well. Obviously, we can't sleep before, but that's mad. But I don't think people understand that, and you can tell, right? Because I've been, I've been interviewed for loads of stuff. The band have, you've interviewed me as well. I can tell when a presenter's done their homework and doesn't just ask us, so where's the name come from? How many people are in the band? What is the music? It's like, well, all of that you can find. Every single question there you can find online if you look for it. And it's not even that. It's not buried anywhere.
No.
But asking you why you wrote a song, or asking, those kind of questions. And that's what you do really well. It's like I've seen you interview people where they've been really surprised that you know so much about them.
Oh, thank you, man.
No, it's true though. And it's like, you know loads about them. And then you'll go through it. I mean, you were a pain in the ass when you interviewed me, but that's because you know me. So this is callback. But then the other thing that, like with TV and stuff, like what's interesting is, I didn't know how hard it was, because you got me on your TV show News to Gamers, right?
Yeah.
And I stupidly thought, well, I've got a bit, I can talk. I know I can talk and stuff like that. and I know I can kind of wing it a bit. And you were like, come on, I know you like gaming, I know you like that, just come on. And I was like, look, mate, I am the noob of the settee, right? Because you had like Twitch streamers, you had like PR, and I was just sitting there going, yeah, I'm a guy in a band who likes to play Call of Duty and FIFA and Football Manager. And you were like, look, you're going to have to do some research. And I was like, what do you mean research? Just give me the game. Because yeah, but some of the games aren't out yet. And I was like, oh, okay. It's just like, so,
yeah, it was that was a journey, wasn't it? News to
I
game.
loved it though, mate. It was great. But like even the teleprompter and stuff like, see, that's what it's called, teleprompter.
Yeah,
That's what it's called. That kind of stuff, and looking at different cameras, I thought, Jesus Christ, Si's actually quite good at what he does. Didn't tell you that, obviously, at the time. But yeah, so when you're doing, what's the best thing? What's the thing you love the most? Is it TV? Is it radio? Is it, because we'll come on to the wrestling stuff as well. What's the thing that kind of really gets you up in the morning at the moment?
I've been asked this question before, and I
All
never.
right, okay, I haven't done my research. I just wanted to know. All right.
Yeah, I never really know how to answer. Radio will always be the number one passion, I think,
Yeah.
because first of all, it was where I started, but it was where I wanted to finish as well.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that I think I put it on Twitter yesterday because it was World Radio Day. There is no buzz quite like opening the mic fader as a song is fading out and you're getting ready to deliver some line about that song, or come out of it and just be full of life, full of energy. There's people connecting to that. There's no buzz like it. It doesn't matter if you're standing on stage, hosting to thousands, or you're on TV hosting a show to thousands. The buzz of radio is well and buried in me. So, but recent success with the podcast and stuff has been great. But I think for me, like, I love hosting stage shows. I absolutely love it. So, and I'm sure you were planning to get to this, but I hosted the Just Dance World Cup, and that was another one. Ubisoft approached me, and I'll be honest, and I told Ubisoft this like at the time, like, I had no interest in that game whatsoever.
Maybe we need to edit this out, mate. Because if they ask you again, I hope you told them this.
They're great guys. I absolutely love some of the contacts I've got there. But yeah, that community is so passionate. I've never. Now, bear in mind, I was stood on stage for 8-9 hours a day, 3 days straight, having to, come up with new material for these 8 hours as well per day. And it was so invigorating. It was so energetic. It was high octane, and it was just amazing. It was so good because everyone was so passionate. The crowd were well into it, and you're getting into it because they're into it. I'm looking forward to being able to do that again once the world plugs itself back in.
So this was going to be my next load of questions for you, mate. So remind me, because my memory is ridiculous at times. I want to talk about the podcast, the wrestling, the hardest part, the best part of your job, all that kind of stuff. But because you've just mentioned it there, let's just dive into that straight away. See, this is my interview technique, just catching you off guard, mate. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of your stuff, radio, TV, live events, stuff like that. So how has that affected you, buddy, and your work? Like, what has it gone quieter? Has it got busier? Have you had to change? What have you done?
Yeah, I mean, you know better than most. I mean, I struggled at the start of all this. All of my bookings, and I had a full year backed up. I was booked every week for different stuff. I was traveling the country 4 days a week. I was barely at home some weeks. And I was earning very good money doing it. And I had new opportunities, bigger opportunities, and all of that obviously went away. Yeah. And I understood that, people's health is way more important than me standing on stage hosting, various shows or whatever. But, from a professional standpoint, yeah, it hit me hard and it was tough. One thing it did get me, it prompted me to do after I'd kind of got out of that little rut of feeling sorry for myself, is it actually gave me a kick up the arse, to be honest with you, because within 6 weeks of us being locked down, I launched my podcast, I'd launched my merch, and and I'd recorded various other bits and bobs, and being asked to do internet-based shows, and that was cool, and that's all been very cool, and continues to be so. It was a hard period to adapt for sure.
Why was it so hard, mate? And we're best mates, so you can tell me, look, I don't want to talk about this, or you can say, yeah, I do, and you can go into whatever depth, because I know a lot, obviously, because you and I talk as friends, and I'm not going to say anything, but
Yeah, no, I
when you
mean,
say, when you say things like feeling sorry for myself, what do you mean by that? Do you mean mental health wise? Do you mean, because it just intrigues me that that's the way you explain it. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I went through a bad mental patch, absolutely. Um, I'm very outspoken about mental health at the moment, and currently, for the viewers and listeners out there, I am in the middle of actually a course to be a mental health first aider, which I should be passed off in the next couple of weeks.
That's amazing.
Um, and that was being put through to me by a mental health organisation I'm an ambassador for. So I'm always very outspoken. I don't hide behind it, and the reason for that is because I think the more it's spoken about, the more it encourages others that it's okay to speak about. Like it's okay not to be okay. And I know that's so cliche now, but it's the truth. And I did go through a horrible stage. Where I was so low, I just didn't really know what to do. The gyms had closed, and that's my favourite outlet. Has
Yeah.
been for years. It's why I'm so famous for the tight clothing, and not so much today. But yeah, so it was a tough time, and I just didn't know what to do, where to turn, and I've always been used to working since the age of 16, and as you know, we in the entertainment industry, you're always doing something. You're always switched on. Like the downtime is a privilege in some cases, but this was just downtime, and I didn't like it, and I just didn't really know what to do with myself. So yeah, I struggled, and I remember reaching out to you and questioned, whether I needed professional help at the time, and I managed to just kind of, I don't know how, I think just going for regular walks that we were allowed at the time, the allotted 1 hour. Um, and I lived in London then, and we lived by this huge, beautiful park, nature reserve. And I would just go around there every day for an hour, and it was very peaceful and beautiful. And I think that kind of helped me get a bit of perspective back. And then that's when I was just like, do you know what? I can sit here and feel like this, or I can make a name for myself
Yeah.
by showing how I can adapt to a situation, which is kind of what I've done through my career, I guess.
Totally.
From radio to TV to stage, they're totally different ways that you have to approach them.
I think
So yeah,
with you, mate,
it was tough.
and you don't give yourself enough credit, right? Because you always know the answers. You always know what to say, when to do it, and stuff like that. You just, like most of us, same with me as well, mate. You just need help to see it sometimes. So when you
Yeah,
rang me those times and said, look, I need a chat and stuff, you did all the right thing, and you knew everything I said to you. You knew, and you
yeah,
already knew that. But sometimes you just need to hear it, don't you? So I think it's
yeah,
incredible what you do in the mental health stuff, mate. And I remember distinctly, just as it happened, I think I said to you, I think I swore at you, not telling you off, but I just said, come on, loads of people would kill to be in your position. We can do this. We'll go for it. All the stuff that you and I say to each other.
yeah,
And you went, yeah. And I went, look, you're going to turn around in a year's time or something like that, and you're going to be further ahead. And you couldn't see it. And then literally like last week or a couple of weeks ago, your podcast stuff is like zooming up the charts, and it's like number X in the world, and I'm just sitting there smiling, and I just like, oh, you little monkey. I was like, very rarely do people literally bounce back and go, right, I'm going to smash this and do this, and stuff like that. And that's down to you, mate, and what you do. And you've always done that. You've always done that. And whenever you're at your lowest or you've got your most adverse challenge ahead of you, you always do it. And it's what makes me absolutely privileged to be one of your best mates, you know, because I see it, and it just, you do my head in because you don't sometimes. And I'm just like, mate, come on, look at this. And I think didn't me and you talk about it, and I went, you've been a main presenter on radio, you've done NBA people, you've hosted this, you've got games company asking you for this, you've got your own this, you've got this, and you went, yeah, that's not bad, is it? I was just like, yeah, I know, mate. I was like, and you were like, yeah, because, and I think you touched on a really good point, mate, about having loads of stuff every single week as like a creative because we did as well. We had like a year and a half booked up, and when it immediately came to a stop, what I found is you lose that momentum.
Yeah.
And you lose that because if you're talking to people every day, you're doing this, you've got a new interview out there, people get to know your face. And is that important for you to your face to be seen? Because I know what it's like for a band, but is it the same for a presenter?
Yeah, absolutely. It's imperative, really, because you're so, for those that are professional and do it, you know, for that they chase that dream, you know, they do it all in the right way is what I'm trying to say. You know, we thrive on being seen because that person, we're connecting with that one person. You know, that person's gonna enjoy what I'm doing and talk to the next person. So, and that's how I've been lucky enough to get so many good roles because I've connected with people, and that's why I do what I do, because I don't do it because, and you know what this is like, mate, being in a band.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people doing it for fame and money.
Oh yeah.
I've never ever done it for that. I've done it because I am so passionate and thrive on it so much that if one person enjoyed an episode of my podcast, or if one person enjoyed me hosting Just Dance, then I've done the job. Because I have changed one person's day.
Do you find the misconception though, and I find this a lot, my really good mates, obviously you, Matto, you know, the lads in the band, they kind of get that, they understand it, like, so, because, you know, Matto, not phased by anything. Me and you could tell him a story about meeting Bono, meeting this person, that person, he'd be like, yeah, don't care.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, go get a pint in. Right, and he's like that, you know, and that's great, I think. But then what I find is, so the people that don't know you as well will think you're chasing that money or think you're chasing that fame because they've spoke to other bands or other people. I find that sometimes quite hard to deal with because people, when you say exactly what you say exactly the same, they go, I don't believe you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that it's a real tough thing to deal with because you put so much hard work into your identity and what you're about and how you connect with people, fans. And I think, you know, look, I love that people get excited about meeting somebody off X on the beach or whatever. You know, that's their excitement. But we're in it because we're passionate about it. Those people are doing the same thing for different reasons, which is cool. That's fine. Let them have their
there's nothing wrong
not
with it at all. You know, and I get that. You know, and it's people will say to me, "Oh, why don't you go on The Voice? Why don't you do that?" I said because I want. The only way I can describe it is I want a career. I don't want a flash in the pan. I don't want to be just known for that. And my career might be playing 1,000 capacity venues or 200 capacity venues for the rest of my life, and I'm happy with that if I'm happy with what I'm doing. And as you said, that one person's doing it, or that one person is getting something back off you. So is that the hardest part of your job, or is there like a technical thing you TV presenters do which is really hard, which I don't know about?
I think, you know, there's a lot of technicalities to being a presenter, and certainly a lot of nuances for sure, but I think the emotional connection is always, you know, the thing that as a professional that's what matters to me. I mean, and if I can just use a little bit of
crack on, mate.
with you and Blue Nation. Now, I'm a massive Iron Maiden fan. Now, Iron Maiden went out there and went, okay, we're not going to sell out. We're not going to do what these guys are doing. We're not going to do what the record labels are all doing to get money. We're going to be Iron Maiden, and I don't care what anyone says. I feel like that's Blue Nation. I think Blue Nation have got their identity. We're not going to do a pop song just to get in the charts. We're not going to do this just to get on TV. And I think like that's what I love about Blue Nation. I think
Oh, thank
is
you.
that you're creating your own identity. You don't want to sell out and be something just for the sake of getting the money.
We've been offered them, mate. We've been offered them. I remember sitting with my dad with a record label, and I don't think I've ever told you this story. And I was sitting opposite on this big table. And my dad was there. And you know what my dad's like? He was like, I don't think this guy's, got the minerals kind of thing. He didn't say that, but that was me paraphrasing this Glaswegian. And the guy sat there and went, God, I love you, man. He was American. I love you, man. You're amazing. I love this. So basically and that stuff, although it's nice to hear, and me and you do have egos the size of planets, we kind of can see through it. When someone means it, it means a lot more. But
Yeah,
you know when someone's just blowing smoke up your behind.
yeah,
Oh man, I love you. I love this stuff. This is great. I love the band. I'm like, oh my god, we're going to get signed. This is what's happening. And he goes, but I want to do one thing. I want to record a dance track, and we're going to do this and that. And I went, let me just stop you right there. And he was like, we can make this amount of money. We can do this. We can do that. And I was like, look, mate, that's not what this band is.
yeah.
And he's like, but you're turning down and it was some stupid 6-figure whatever he'd say. I had no idea if it was real, right? So it was more than likely a load of crap. And you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that, and I was like, look, mate, that's not us. A million people would love to be in your position. Cool, go.
That's incredible. That's
And it was
incredible.
like, and we came out, and my dad was like, I'm so glad you said that. Because he was like, there's no way. I was like, I'm not a freaking dance actor. And probably what it was, right? They were going to probably use a riff or a bit of my vocal on a dance track. No, that's not a career to me. So,
No.
it's. I'm glad you see that, mate, because we work hard on that. We do. So,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense, and I'd never thought about it that that's your hardest part as well. So, is the best part? Is the best part? You've already kind of touched on it. Probably that, turning up that fader, that buzz, that adrenaline, as well. Or is there another best part?
Look, I mean, for me, the energy's there. Sitting in front of a camera, standing in front of a camera, presenting, interviewing, whatever you're doing. Yeah, the buzz is unbelievable. Just like you as a front man on the stage, the adrenaline is like no other.
It's in my face, mate. Sorry.
But I'll just let me know if I can borrow a bit. I'm starting to this lockdown. But yeah, so we for me it's knowing that I've connected with someone. So anytime I see one comment, one like, one share, I'm like, okay, so that person's enjoying what I'm doing. And it's that I get a kick out of. That's why I do what I do. And I remember, so there's this young lad who's on the podcast scene, very new to it, and he needs a bit of guidance. Struggles with various mental disabilities.
Yep.
But I didn't know this guy. He messaged me out of the blue. He's only 17. And I just took the time to help guide him and speak to him and give him some advice and help him get off his feet. And I remember he turned to me and said, like, can you be one of my first interviews? Oh, wow. I said, yeah, sure. So we did that. And he turned to me. And I mean, sometimes it's not hard on some days, but yeah, he turned around to me and was just like, that's probably my favourite interview. And I was just like, dude, look, you've smashed it out the park. That's already a big step for you. And that's what I love, is knowing that I'm connecting and helping people. That's all I want back. I don't need. I would love a house in Hollywood, but I don't need it.
Yeah, no, totally. And I find that sometimes that's lacking in our industry, and that's certainly in the music industry, that not many people want to help each other. And it's one of the things the lads and I always talk about, and my dad, and I spoke to you about it, is, if and when we get to that next level or that stage where we do have more of a voice, we do have more of a stage, we're going to help people, because we've remembered the people that have helped us. You've done voiceovers for us for absolutely nothing, right? It's you got to help each other, you got to support each other, and it's way better in life to build each other up around you. Be it if you're an accountant, be it if you're a TV presenter in a band,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, admin assistant, HR, whatever it may be. You just build each other up, which is
yeah.
what it should be. But I think that's come out during the pandemic. I think now there's a lot more. Feels like there's a lot more empathy. I just hope we don't go back to our normal ways. But anyway, right, enough pandemic talk and stuff like that, mate. Right, so we've talked about news to gamers, radio, your game presenting. See, this is why you do my head in when you call me and stuff, because there's so much going on. You've been in rally cars as well, haven't you? And
Oh
presented
man,
from a rally
yeah,
car. So
yeah. That was
I'm trying to think of all the bizarre places you've done that I've seen as well. So let's talk about because this took me by surprise. Because I knew you were a wrestling fan. Obviously, we've spoke about it, and kind of my wrestling goes up until like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, like
good old
WWF,
days.
good old days, right?
Yeah.
And I was actually watching it on the YouTube the other day, and it proper transported me back. So when you said, "Oh, I'm I was a little bit scared for your life, mate. I'm going to be honest. When you phoned me and went, I've got this gig. I'm going to be. Are you a ringside presenter or announcer or a bit of everything? You're kind of backstage as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Interviewing the
So
wrestlers.
yeah, yeah. It was a really weird thing. It's something that I've always wanted to explore. I've just never known how. And the
Yeah,
British scene has kind of only been. I mean, it's been going for years, but it really came into something big and like a must see territory for the last kind of 5 years or so.
yeah, yeah.
But obviously, I was doing other things with the TV show and whatever. But yeah, I just never knew how to get into it. And I thought, you know what? Look, I know how to interview people. I've got this
Yeah.
style, and I'm constantly evolving that. I always like to learn new ways, and I still watch, people that inspire me because that that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You pick up on techniques. But yeah, so it was one of I was like, right, how do I do it right? So I just, I got my show reel together and pitched this idea that the UK scene doesn't really have backstage interviewers.
Yeah.
Obviously you see them at the big corporations, WWE and AEW and Impact and all these big promotions, but you don't really get it in the indies and on the UK scene. So I just pitched it to a load of
No way.
promotions, and a couple, a couple did bite, and
In the face.
then TNT got in touch and was like, would you be interested in working with us? And yeah, it kind of went from there. And it was just, I remember my first show, if I can quickly tell this story.
I know what you're going to say, so tell it.
Um, my first show, I thrown in at the deep end is an understatement. So it was a deathmatch tournament. And in this deathmatch tournament were light tubes, tables, barbed wire,
Oh my
anything you can think
god.
of was being used. I think there was even like a computer keyboard. There was a fans bring weapons match, and somebody brought a computer keyboard, and somebody had also filled. I can't remember what it was. They filled something with Lego. and,
Oh, that's horrific.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. And yeah, so anyway, and I'd just come back from doing some backstage interviews, come to the front to watch the next match to get content for the next lot of backstage interviews. And I'm there watching, and it's Ricky Shane Page versus Clip Margera, two of the best deathmatch workers in the world.
Yeah.
And Clip Margera throws a light tube at Ricky Shane Page. In midair, Ricky Shane Page, who's a big guy, he's 6 foot and he's built, and
Yeah, yeah.
he kicks this light tube in midair, and one half of that light tube's just going like this, and
Mate.
so I'm just like this, and it just bounces off the stage behind me, and I'm like, what have I got myself into? Do I really want to do this?
Oh my god, mate. Have you been slapped as well? Have I seen that? Did someone slap
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So,
I enjoyed that one.
and that was my first. So the backstage interviews are promos, so they're
Yeah.
all in character, they're all in gimmick,
Mm.
and we were doing this one with the She Wolves, who are a dominant faction in the UK scene. Incredible bunch of talented women. But yeah, we cut this promo, and it was obviously I was the new boy, so they needed to rough me up a little bit. And the camera's rolling. I'm there with the mic, and she slaps my face a couple of times and pushes me away and walks off. And
There's a part in that in your eyes because I know you. I know you're scared at one point because I can see.
yeah,
Because me and you have been in a few situations where it's like, oh my god,
yeah.
and you've done the same look, and I'm just like, oh my god, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna smack him, and he's like, it was great. To be fair, I did watch you, mate. I love it. But then then did you then do the podcast after that, or did that kind of come naturally, or is it part of that? How did the podcast go? Because I really want to talk about that because you're smashing it with that at the moment.
Well, the podcast came when there was no lockdown. I mean, to be honest, like
Yeah.
when I left the gaming industry, because I was working for Deep Silver on like Shenmue and Metro and stuff, and I left those guys, and I really wanted to do a gaming podcast because I had the connections and I knew the format I wanted, and we had a friend of ours that we both know, Lee Hunt.
Good lad.
He good lad, very talented.
Yeah.
He put some great artwork together, and it was called Gone Gold, and that was actually the start of the wrestling podcast as well. And now Gone Gold is gaming terminology for when a game is completely developed, it's finished.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the podcast had came when we went into lockdown, and I think my first episode was April the 9th or 10th or something like that, and it was just like I was just like I'm going to interview wrestlers because what had happened was in the first 4 months of my wrestling career, I'd all of a sudden been put in a spotlight, and I was like, Jesus, this guy is now kind of leading the way for backstage interviewers, and he's getting recognised. I was having people doing fan art and all sorts, and I was just like, what is going on? But yeah, the interviews were getting watched everywhere because what we do as well. So we did the backstage interviews, and they would get put into a show once a month called Barbed Wire, TNT Barbed Wire, which was kind of like an MTV2 style show. This is the music shows, and here's a new song. But yeah, we used to do the highlights of the matches with the backstage promos and all of this stuff, give info on the next events, and yeah, we did that, and I think that connected with a lot of people because it was getting thousands of views online, and that obviously connected with the wrestling community. And the wrestling community is so passionate; it is so engulfed with people who just love watching wrestling and being involved and connecting in some way, So I just came to the conclusion, well, we've got nothing better to do, so I'm going to do a podcast. And this is what I'm talking about, like it really did help me, give me a kick up the arse after a while that this is what I need to get going. So I remember, and if I look at it now, I was so stupid when I started doing it because I was we don't know how to go about it properly or methodically, So I I recorded like 4 episodes in 3 days, and for some reason I felt like there needed to be 2 a week, 3 a week sometimes, and they didn't. And I was really putting myself through more stress because then I would edit the video, then have to edit the audio separate, record intros, and it was too much. And
sounds like classic Simon Hill to me, to be honest.
Pretty much, yeah. It doesn't do things by halves. It doesn't. Although it knows how to do it when it's there,
he wants to do it all at one time.
Yeah,
as well as everything else.
Yeah.
And then wonders why. Oh, I'm a bit mentally frazzled at the moment. I wonder why, mate.
Trying to do 50 things at once. Yeah. So, and that's kind of how it began, and the traction just started building out of nowhere. So I had this format just like yourself. I had the video format as well as the audio. And I noticed that the audio format was just creeping up and up and up. And the video format was very nice to have. It was great to start with. But I was just thinking, do you know what? Like, for a few 500 views here or there, but the audio ones are in their thousands.
Yeah, you get the traction.
Yeah. And I had some great guests with the video ones, incredible from WWE and and NXT and all these big promotions, some from the indie scene, telling some great stories, all so open to just being a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So what numbers you at now? Where were you? The last time you looked in the world, what of wrestling podcasts? What number did you get to?
so I published one on my social media recently that saw us get number 5 in Ireland, but I think in the world we were number 22 or something like that,
Mate, that's incredible, though.
which is just ridiculous.
When you think about America as well, mate.
I mean,
You know,
the
and wrestling in America is kind of where I first got introduced to
Yeah.
it years and
Yeah.
years and years ago. And the size of America, you're number 22 in the world. Does it not blow your mind? Because I think about this a lot. When you're making it, or when you put it out there, do you think about the people that are going to listen to it?
well, I mean,
Or do you just let it get out there? Because I've never asked you this.
I of course I think about the people that are listening, because when I get my intros recorded, I'm like, okay, so what's gonna connect with people? How are they gonna see this? So yeah, I absolutely, especially when I'm conducting questions and things, because I'm like, because just like you said earlier, there's so many generics out there. I could easily just go into every interview. So, why did you become a wrestler? Who was your favorite wrestler? Like, who cares? Yeah, exactly.
Why did you decide on this name?
Yeah, who cares? You can find that anywhere. So I definitely take great pride in giving fun, well-researched interviews, and I think that's actually how the Twitter thing, the bio is. Like that's what this is. Yeah. They're fun, well-researched interviews, because if I'm watching them, I want to be entertained. I know that this person is named XYZ. I know I can easily go on Google and see where they're from.
I think people underestimate the people that listen. I mean, because I used to, I'm not going to lie, years ago, just think that I had to explain everything about the band and everything, where we come from, what we do. And you got to let people go on that journey themselves.
Yeah.
Because if I think about my favourite bands, I know all their names, I know exactly what instruments they play, I know their first album, I know when they recorded it, I know where they recorded it, I know the engineer they used to record it, I know where it was mastered, I know where they went on tour, and I know all that information. So when I hear an interview and someone talks about, oh, so you recorded in Abbey Road, I'm like, yeah, I know that, I know what studio it was, I know the desk they used was the one that they used with Pink Floyd, I know that stuff. Some people might not, but that's what I think with your stuff, mate, is when you do it, I'm genuinely interested. And I'm not a massive wrestling fan, but I've listened to them and I've actually gone, my God, that was great. And again, I've not told you that because your ego is going to get even bigger,
You're going to get some messages after this, mate.
Oh my God, I know I am. I just can feel them coming already. It's like...
But yeah, I felt like, because I took a mental break.
Yeah.
When I had to move back from London, because that was a really tough decision. It wasn't something by choice. A lot of people have struggled in these weird times, and unfortunately, I was one of those. So I had to make that big step, move back to the Midlands, and but what was really good about that is the focus now purely on audio formed interviews. I've never been in the charts so much, and my listener base has never been so high. I've been very fortunate since I've come back to have the level of talent I have, because I've had someone from every big promotion in the world.
I thought you meant yourself then. I was like, mate, that's a bit egotistical. I've never been so fortunate to have the amount of talent that I have. I was like, sigh, yeah, what? I'm assuming you mean your guests.
Yeah. So wrestling terminology for wrestlers is talent.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's quite natural. So yeah, I probably should just do.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm so good now. Yeah, but yeah. So it's the level of talent that I've had on there has been unreal. And again, the way I go into every interview, so I'll have a little chat with the guests beforehand to kind of ease them in and just make them feel comfortable. But I always tell them, look, this is your show, it's not mine. I'm just the guy asking the questions.
Oh, that's good, mate.
I need
that advice.
So I literally tell them, look, if you want to go off on tangents, if you want to tell stories in totally different ways, you do it how you want to do it, because this is your show. And I think that's what really resonates with them and really does give them a perspective of, I'm pretty relaxed, so I can just talk how I want.
Yeah, I've seen
And I
that, mate, in
think,
the feedback. So I've seen a couple of people like when the podcasts get released and the guests are then they're not just retweeting and liking it; they're actually saying this was a great interview. Simon did this, he made me feel this, which then must get you more bookings because people are like, oh well, if you made him or her feel like that, then maybe I should have a chat to him. Are you finding that as well?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's several stories where, I've interviewed somebody and they've recommended me to someone else, and
Oh wow.
the level of talent have been bigger than that, more recognized than that person. It's just like, wow, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
this is unreal. And I do get messages, going, oh, so and so wants to be on your podcast, so and so wants to be on your podcast. But it's hard to fit everyone in and please everyone,
Mate,
and
I want to be on the podcast and I don't know anything about wrestling. Right?
we can talk about Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, mate.
Mate, if you ever do a retro one, please get me on. Because I will nail it, I promise.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
the shoelaces round my non biceps when I was a kid. I think I've actually got a photo as well. I'm there.
No, that I want to see.
No.
I want to see that. I'm going to text your dad and I'm going to try and get hold of
I
this.
forgot you've got my dad's number.
So yeah, it's been a wild ride, man, and to be able to get the level of recognition that it's got has been mental. And I
I'm
think
so proud of you, mate. Honestly, I am. Because I
I
know,
really appreciate it.
yeah, I know the journey you've gone through. From way back when you and I first met to even 6 to 8 to 9 months ago, mate, as well. So I'm dead proud
Yeah.
of you. And I've probably never said it enough to you, but I absolutely do adore you. Even if you do my head in and do Mimi's head in as well. But I do adore you. You're great,
Oh,
mate.
thank
So
you, mate. I
I've now
appreciate
gone
that.
on record and said it. I've noticed
I
that
love it. It's recorded.
yeah, I've noticed you've not said it back to me, so I'll give you a jip about that later.
I think it goes without saying.
I still need to hear it though, mate. No, I'm joking.
What you and Mimi have done for me over the years, it's that there will never be enough time in the day to speak about it. There
Oh,
really will.
mate, you do
And
the same for us. Just buy me a pint because I know you're tight. You never go to the bar. So well, we can go. So I'm going to move on now, mate, to kind of these some of the funny questions, stuff like that. So
yeah,
first of all, and be careful how you answer this because our friendship's on the line. Um, who's your favourite member of Blue Nation?
I think all of you bring
Oh God, no! I'm
unique.
not having you sitting on the fence. I want a name and one person only.
I think Blue Nation has gone through. It's gone through a lot. It's gone through some incredible moments, but I think you're stronger now than ever.
Oh, thanks, mate.
You know, this is gonna kill me. I think
I
I
thought
think
you'd
you're.
just say my dad. That's what I thought you were going to say because a load of people just say my dad. They're just like Ron.
I love your dad. I do your dad's head in so much, and
Yeah,
I
but
did in Mexico.
he'll just tell you though. That's the thing.
Yeah, he does. He does.
He always asks about you. He goes, "How's Si doing? Is he still being an idiot?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Every time I see him, he'll give me like half a compliment, but
Oh
he'll
yeah,
give me two. He'll give me two. Like, why are you just doing this? Why? Like,
yeah. He'll tell you how it is, and you
shut.
think,
Just go to the bar. Just shut up.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
You don't have to
but
say
yeah,
your
I
favourite
do
member.
think
I know it's my dad, mate. Don't worry.
it is definitely your dad. But yeah, in terms of like the band itself, though, I do think you're stronger now than ever. Luke is
He's annoyingly good, isn't he?
annoyingly
Oh
good.
my! I have this conversation with
Stupidly
so
talented.
many people, mate. It's frightening. And do you know what's really nice about it with Luke? And Ben's ridiculously talented as well. The ghost notes and stuff that he plays. And I don't even know what a ghost note is, mate. But when I speak to other drummers, they're like, flipping heck. I'm like, yeah, he's good, isn't he? But Luke is phenomenal. And he is humble with it as well.
He is.
So
He doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't have that mentality of I know I'm good. He's there to play and he enjoys it and he gets so lost in it as well, which I love. And so do you. You know, like you look at your emotion on stage, especially when there's a non-singing part and it's purely guitar. You are so lost in that.
Guitar face on, mate, ain't I?
You have got the guitar face, the full blown guitar face. But yeah, I do think Blue Nation as a band, there's before all this, again, you mentioned earlier, you had the momentum and everything was, but you'll get that again, mate, as soon as shows come back. I mean, you did a show in October when we were told we were allowed to, which was phenomenal. You sold the place out,
Man. It was
and
good. It was good show. We've got loads of stuff, but yeah, I like how you've basically not answered the question, but that's your
just take the compliment.
That's your interview technique. So I'm going to let you go on that one. Right. So last question for me, mate, and then I'll let you ask me a question if you want, because I want to make sure you've done your research on me. What is your favourite Blue Nation song and why, mate?
She made me feel loved.
That one. I could have guessed that one myself. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever asked you why.
There's a few reasons really. And I'll delve back into mental health a little bit. The first reason is I do generally think it's an incredible song. The riff is beautiful. The little hammer on fill in between the riff it's amazing. And it's just you and a guitar, and it's raw and it's beautiful. For the other reason, so I remember many years ago I'd split up with an ex, and it was the end of the world, and you get so far after that where you just can't cry, you just want emotion and you can't get it, and you're doing everything you can to just get that release so you can just move on, get on with things. And for some reason I went months without just being able to cry. It doesn't matter how bad things got or what was going on, I just couldn't cry. And I sat in bed once and I was just listening to your album, and it got to that song.
Oh, no way.
And for 3 hours, I just cried.
Oh, mate, no, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you, mate.
Just cried at your voice. But weird. Yeah, it really opened me up.
Oh, man. Well, that's what it's about. I mean,
that's what music does, isn't it? Like, music for me is the ultimate escape. More recently, because let's be honest, everyone, although I am very optimistic these days with how busy I've been with the podcast, working in the game industry and studying, like, I still go to music. Like, so before I go on calls and stuff and interviews, I've got my headphones in listening to Maiden or Metallica or whatever. Because
you in that zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, that's what happened in that moment. Music really stole every emotion I wanted so bad to get out. And it was at that moment, and I think I went to the gym that next day, and there was just this light bulb click, and I was like, I'm so over it. I'm happy again. I'm fine again. Good. I've done what I need to do, and it was that song that did it.
That's mad, mate.
And that's why I absolutely nag the hell out of you to play it live more.
I never play it live that much. I played it. I did when we were supporting the record company. I did it, and I said I'll only play it if you come. I'll play the song, and then you did. You did come. I was like, oh, shit, I've got to play it now.
I remember we're at that. I can't remember the venue now. It was a really
HMV Institute.
Yeah.
In Brum.
I remember, and I turned up, and you I think you even said on the mic, look, I know this one's close to Si's heart, so I'm going to play it for him. And it just, I remember, I think actually Maria was stood next to me, and I remember grabbing her arm off, and it just that song.
I didn't know. I'm glad it helped you, mate, because it helped me through a time as well, and helped.
Well, I know that's what the song's about, isn't it? The song is about an experience that you had in a past relationship.
Yeah, exactly that. It's the you kind of you think you know what love is, you think you know what it feels like, but then until someone makes you feel loved, that's why it's called She Made Me Feel Loved, then you don't get it, you don't understand it. It wasn't Mimi, it was an ex-girlfriend. But then I think also when you do experience the next stage of it, or your soulmate, or whatever you want to call them, like I have with Mimi, you then understand it.
Yeah.
So that person may have made you feel it or made you get the emotions of love, but then when you meet the one, you just think, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. Basically. Absolutely.
Well, mate, I've got no more questions for you. It's been delightful. I've actually really enjoyed it. I thought
mate, this has been
taking the mick out of each other for like an hour. We've actually been quite professional, which is
We
madness.
have. I don't think that's ever happened or will ever happen again. So this is a rare
Yeah,
occurrence.
this is
This
going
will
to go
never
down in
be.
folklore.
Yeah.
This is.
One conversation where we haven't
I know.
took the mick out of each other.
I know. It's good,
Uh,
mate. Have you got
but I
anything you
think,
want to ask me, buddy? You're
well, I
allowed
do
one
think
question. I'm
I
joking,
do.
whatever.
I do think that we should let you. We should end on a happy note.
Okay.
Not that although that was an experience of how music can touch you.
Mm.
I think we should end on something funny.
Oh, okay.
So I
What?
think we should let you tell the wedding story.
Oh my god. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I could see. This is how I work, mate. My brain forgets. So, Sai was at mine and Mimi's wedding, and we went to Mexico. And we went to Mexico because it was one of the first holidays we had, and we loved it. And we thought, Mimi's half Colombian. Maybe her family can nip over from Colombia, and that kind of is quite close. So Sai comes, and we said, look, stay in the same hotel as us because it's a little bit out in the sticks, and you want to be close to us. There's two stories. I'm going to tell both stories. And he goes, yeah, no worries, no worries. And this is what Sai does, right? So Sai, I'm talking to the people now, not you, Sai. So what Sai was, yeah, it's fine, do it. So we get to the hotel. It's like, Sai, where are you staying? So I'm just up the road. I was like, okay, why are you up the road? Well, it's a bit cheaper up there, and there was always a girl involved, and there's this group of Americans or whatever they are there as well. I was like, okay, mate, crack on. Well, up to our hotel, it was a massive drive, and you had to get a bus, and then you had to get a car from the top of this. It was about 2-3 miles. And it's scorching sun, and it says everywhere, do not walk along this, because it was like marshy lands next to the hotel because of crocodiles, right? And alligators, I think it was. I think it was
Yeah.
crocodiles. Because the crocodiles will come out and drag you into the marshes. Does Si see any of these signs? Does he, heck? So Si gets a bus from his hotel, walks it, and gets to the hotel on like our hotel, and goes, God, boiling. I was like, did you walk that thing? He's like, yeah, it's boiling, mate, boiling. I was like, well, you could get killed by a crocodile. So my mum now calls Simon the Crocodile Man because he nearly got eaten by a crocodile. He didn't. He was fine, obviously. But the worst thing was, so on my wedding day, mine and Mimi's wedding day. So obviously we separated off. So she was in kind of the suite, and me and the lads were in a room. We had beers and stuff, and they put a load of stuff on for you, which was really cool. And we're all there in our suits, and Si is nowhere to be seen. And I was like, where's Si? What's he doing? 10 or 15 minutes before I was going to get married, literally like 2:45, I think it was. There was like a knock at the door. I thought, oh, must be someone to get us ready. I opened the door, Si is standing there, dripping wet, sand all over him, in his Bermuda shorts, because he's been playing, and I quote, when I said, where the F have you been? He goes, I've been playing, what was it, beach volleyball with some girls. I was like, I get married in 15 minutes, Si. And he's like, yeah, I know, don't worry, I'll be ready. Now, if you know Si, he doesn't get ready quick because he has to coiffure everything about him. Fair play to you, though. You got ready in, I think it was 7 minutes, I timed you, and you managed to get a beer down and then have a photo before we actually got married. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you were the stress, mate. No other stress on my wedding day. Everything was fine. You were the stress.
Yeah, it was.
That's true, though, isn't it? That's exactly how it
It
happened.
was. That's exactly how it happened, and it was such a great. I absolutely hold those memories so close
It
to me,
was
and I've
cool.
I've
It
wanted
was
to go
cool.
back ever
Yeah, we do,
since.
man. We do. It was. I
Yeah,
think
the thing
we do.
was, is like I was told that the hotel was literally 10 minutes from you. It wasn't. It was an hour. It was so far away from
That's
you.
such a you thing to do. I
I
told you
know.
to stay in the same hotel because then you just walk down to the boat. You were like, nah, I'm going over here. It's 10 minutes now. I can walk it. It's 10 minutes. I can jog it. Like, you see,
And it was 30. It was what 35, 40 degree
oh,
heat,
easy,
and I
mate.
was walking along like this highway,
In
and then like
flip
Neil
flops.
said, the road there. I
Here we
was
go.
like, oh, nah, alligators will be fine. I'll just keep walking.
There's massive signs. Do not
Yeah.
walk along this. Do crocodiles. Massive red sign with a crocodile eating a human, and you're like, oh, that's a nice bit of art, isn't it?
This this was the first time, and probably the only time I've ever had Neil stress at me. So
Yeah.
when I turned up at the hotel front, his room front door after playing beach volleyball, Get in the shower.
It's 15 minutes before I was getting married. I don't need to have to think about you 15 minutes before I get married. There's a few other things going around my head, mate, apart from where the hell is Simon? And it was your nonchalant, I've been playing beach volleyball. It's just like, get in the shower. I was like, you got a wedding to do. Oh, I'll be ready. It's just like, idiots. But I wouldn't change you, mate. I wouldn't change you for the world. I love you. And
we get to tell those stories, mate, because of that.
No, and thank you for doing this, mate. I really appreciate it, and I think people will be really interested in hearing how a TV presenter goes about it, mate. So, if you've got no more questions, mate, I'm going to turn you off and say goodbye to these lovely people.
Do it, mate. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, dude. And it's been a lot of fun, mate. You're actually pretty good at this.
I'm all right. Right, as I turn him off. Right, so that's been. I literally just turned you off. It was amazing. It was so much power. I can just like get rid of it and go. I am going to turn you off now. So goodbye. So no, see you later, mate. I'll speak to you in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Just don't say anything. Just like hide in the background like you normally do. Go play beach volleyball. So that was the latest instalment of Moving the Spotlight. Join me next time. I'll be speaking to someone else in the industry, which can hopefully reveal some stuff behind the scenes that you don't already know. Thank you for watching. Tune in later. Cheers. Bye.